Some wounds don't bleed, and that's why no one sees them. When you're a child being bullied, the world doesn't end with bruises, it ends with silence. You learn to hold your breath when footsteps approach. You learn to make yourself smaller, quieter, easier to ignore. And while everyone else grows up, you grow inward into the parts of yourself you learn to hide. People tell you to forget it, to move on, as if childhood pain evaporates with age. But the truth is, bullied children don't just heal, they adapt, they survive, and sometimes they become adults who still flinch at tones, still fear conflict, still doubt their worth even in rooms where they are respected. Because the bullying didn't just hurt them, it shaped them. It taught them how the world works and who they're allowed to be. Bullying doesn't end when the school bell rings. It becomes a blueprint, reshaping how a child thinks, feels, and sees themselves in the world. Psychologists call this internalized trauma, when the cruelty once done to you becomes the voice you repeat to yourself. A bullied child grows up learning 3 dangerous beliefs: that they are unsafe, that they are unworthy, and that they must earn love through suffering. These beliefs become core memories, silently guiding decisions long into adulthood. And the tragedy is this: the world forgets the bullying ever happened, but the child never does. They carry it into relationships, careers, self-esteem, and identity. The trauma becomes a personality, not a wound, a survival method, not a memory. This is where the story begins, not with the bullying itself, but with what it created. The psychology of the bullied child who never healed is shaped by wounds that did not fade with time, but instead grew inward, turning into beliefs about themselves and the world. In childhood, the bullying felt overwhelming not only because of the cruelty itself, but because the child had no emotional tools, no power, and no way to escape, so their brain adapted in the only way it knew how, by folding inward to survive. They learned to scan every environment for danger, a habit that becomes hypervigilance in adulthood, where even neutral expressions or harmless comments can feel like threats waiting to strike. They internalized the voices of their bullies until those voices became their own inner critic, whispering that they are unworthy, undesirable, or fundamentally wrong, long after the bullies are gone. Their nervous system wired itself around fear, rejection, and unpredictability, creating patterns of self-doubt, people-pleasing, emotional withdrawal, or explosive self-protection depending on how they coped. They often grow into adults who carry an invisible shame, a lingering belief that something about them invited the harm, even though none of it was ever their fault. They may struggle with trust, not because they don't want connection, but because their early experiences taught them that closeness is a doorway to pain. And deep inside, they carry a grief for the child they once were, the child who needed protection, safety, and validation, but instead found humiliation, isolation, and fear. The truth is, childhood bullying never stays in childhood. It moves into your adulthood quietly, wearing new faces, new situations, new disguises. You start doubting your worth in rooms where no one is even judging you. Your mind learned early that attention equals danger, so you shrink yourself even when you're safe. You question every compliment because it feels like a setup, not kindness. You apologize for existing, for speaking, for taking up space, because the old wound still whispers that you don't deserve to be here. You overthink every small interaction, replaying conversations like crime scenes, searching for the moment you messed up. Your nervous system still reacts as if the world is waiting to humiliate you. You become hyper-aware of people's tones, expressions, and silences, not because you're sensitive, but because you were trained to anticipate cruelty before it arrives. Your body learned vigilance as a survival tactic, and now it feels impossible to relax around anyone. You struggle to trust friendships and relationships because you've seen how easily people can turn on you. So you keep a part of yourself hidden, convinced that showing the real you is an invitation for pain. And the saddest part? You still carry the voice they gave you, the one that tells you you're not enough, not wanted, not important, even though none of it was ever true. This is the invisible weight the bullied child carries into adulthood, not because they are weak, but because they were hurt before they ever knew how to protect themselves. Healing doesn't mean forgetting what happened to you. It means understanding how those wounds still shape the way you move through the world. When you were bullied, you learned to survive by shrinking, by staying quiet, by becoming invisible. But survival isn't living, and the parts of you that hid to stay safe are still waiting for permission to come back. You don't heal by proving your worth to people who once broke it. You heal by learning to stand in spaces that no longer feel like a threat. Awareness is your first step. You notice the triggers, the tension, the fear that never felt logical but always felt familiar. And with every moment of awareness, the old story starts to lose its power. You are not the person they told you you were. You're the person who survived long enough to rewrite the narrative. And healing begins when you finally stop apologizing for taking up space. Maybe the world never apologized for what it took from you. Maybe no one ever came back to say, "You didn't deserve that." But healing doesn't wait for an apology. It begins when you stop letting old wounds decide who you are allowed to become. You are not the child they ignored. You are not the silence they left you in. You are the person who kept going even when no one taught you how. So breathe. Step out of the story that was written for you. Choose the version of yourself that doesn't need permission to exist. Because you are no longer trapped in the place where you were hurt. You are standing in the life you are building now. And you don't have to carry the past, just because someone else put it in your hands. You are allowed to let it fall. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to begin again.